Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. This is our career exploration session for School of Vision Media and Performing Arts. My name is Michael Sarro. I'm an assistant director at Magna Career Center. I'm also the counselor for the School of Vision Media and Performing Arts. So if you are film, journalism, art, theater, production, I'm the counselor that you come to see. So I'm very happy to have our Brooklyn College students here. I believe we have other students from CUNY here as well, from other CUNY schools. So welcome. If you want to put in the chat what school you are from, that's really great, so we can keep track. And I'm very happy to have several alumni with us today, Brooklyn College alum, some of which I knew when they were students, so I'm really proud of them and have them here today. So the point of this session is to make an informed decision about a particular career path, and everybody here is going to share. We had five guests for today. One unfortunately canceled, but we have the other four with us, and we have a series of questions we're going to ask them. And then if you students, if you have questions that you want to ask our guests, put the questions in the chat and we'll try to get to all of those. Each of the alumni will have about 20 minutes or so to answer questions, not only the ones that we prepared, but also the questions that you may have. So I also want to introduce my two assistants for this particular event. Both are my colleagues at Magna Center, Mary Figueroa and Avi Wiswer. So they will both be helping me facilitate this event by asking some questions that we've already shared with the alum, and then also any questions that the students will have in the chat. Okay, so if you have any questions, obviously put it in the chat, and we're glad that everybody is here. So without further ado, I think we should just hop right into it. I want to introduce our first guest, Alex Pinheiro, who is an alum of Brooklyn College, just like everyone else that is with us today. Thank God, there he is, representing that. I don't have the function to, there we go. Okay, good. Alex, welcome. Thank you for joining us today. You're wearing the Brooklyn College shirt. You're out in LA. So
yes, sir.
West Coast, you're joining us.
Representing.
That's right. That's right. You're going to get people on the street asking Brooklyn. They're going to ask you about Brooklyn College, and you got to tell them forget about it.
Forget about it. Go Bulldogs.
Of course. So, Alex, again, thank you for joining us, and let's just jump right into questions. Introduce yourself, and also, what factors inspired you to select your current career?
Hi, everyone. My name is Alexander Pinheiro. As you know, originally from New York City, Brooklyn College alum. I moved out to LA about 3 years ago, coming up soon, in order to continue pursuing my media production career, also acting career as well. What are the factors that inspired me to select my career? So I studied film production at Brooklyn College. I was over in the web building all the time, working, actually cutting with film. But over the years, I had done other jobs like finance, marketing, banking. But this is truly the only thing I felt really passionate about, and simultaneously good at, decently good at least. When I was an after school counselor for years, and I worked my way up to a teacher's assistant, and then I worked with some of the theater productions, and it kind of created my addiction for the creative arts. And I started taking classes for film and creative writing at Brooklyn College. I took some acting courses and did some of the theater and stuff like that. But when I was working as a counselor, I created some new programs, including screenwriting, video production, and it just kind of snowballed into all these different things. Was that 2 minutes?
Sorry about that. We're having problems with the Zoom here. I don't know why. Let me just double check. Mary, am I a host or? I am host now. Okay. It's really strange. Okay, sorry about that, everybody. We're just trying to deal with some of the technical issues here. For some reason, Zoom is acting up. All right. Okay, great. So the next question would be, what's an example of a project you frequently work on or worked on recently? Again, you were talking about acting. Maybe touch upon that and some of the video editing work you're doing.
Yeah, so I actually every time I come to when I came to LA, I just keep going back to New York. So I did a guest star on Law and Order SVU last year, and then shortly after that, I did a show. I had a series regular role on a show called City on Fire on Apple TV Plus, and it aired last year, May 2023. Um, the SAG and WGA strikes kind of affected all the marketing and stuff, so it's a little bit wishy-washy, but you know, it was also a bit slow. But I'd still worked on some short films. Me and a friend of mine from New York, he went to LIU Post. We produced short films, and we released a short film called Rebellious 8, which is all Latino cast based on a family of superpowers, and it got into Philadelphia Latino Film Festival, Latino Film Market NYC, Philly Indie Fest, and that's available on YouTube. But now we're working on a feature film, a pre-production on a feature film, and I do editing for some corporate segments that get aired on Fox NBC. It's hosted by Dennis Quaid. It's like this really cool little it highlights businesses and upcoming entrepreneurs and things like that.
And how's that process been like about being able to kind of like land some of these opportunities, whether it's with the acting or with some of the editing and production that you've done?
Man, there's two different beasts right there. With acting, I mean, you just got to keep doing it, you know. And it's just a matter of happenstance in terms of production, you know, who you know, and that'll lead to my, you know, something I talk about later, which is networking. But with acting, I mean, you just keep on going. Like I have now since the strikes are over and it's fluctuating throughout the industry, I'm getting a ton of auditions that have been coming in. Including one that I have later today, which is for a new Walking Dead spinoff. I can't really talk about it, but it's pretty cool. But yeah, it comes and goes, it ebbs and flows, and you just got to work with what you can. Some people they do waitressing, they do hosting, you know, different kinds of. I did when I first got here in LA. I did a lot of Ubering, a lot of DoorDash, and then I transitioned eventually and said I'm going to use more of my production experience in order to utilize my own company and use editing and production and directing to work with corporate, work with these small creators, independent entities, and marketing agencies.
I mean, the hustle's real. I mean, you know, when you go out to LA, you know, and you said you had gone out there right at the onset of the pandemic, right?
Yeah, I tried in 2020 to come out here. I was here for a month, and then I got booked for a co-star on a show called Dr. Death, an NBC Peacock show. And then once I flew back to New York, 4 days later, I had my fitting, and then COVID hit the next day. So I was stuck there for a year, and then 2021, I came back here full time.
Right, right. Wow. Again, you know, adaptability. So what you're saying, for anybody here that has this interest in going out to LA, to the West Coast, you know, these are just some really great kind of pieces of advice that you can get from Alex because he's done it and what to expect. You know, do you stay in New York or you go out to LA? So we can talk more about that. But Avi, do you wanna handle the next question?
Yeah. So you talked briefly about going to the web building and editing, and you found joy in that. What would you say you enjoy most about your career itself, and what are some challenges that you have faced while maybe being here or in LA?
Um, Simply put, I love the work that I do. You know, it's a love-hate relationship. You know, my logical mind has battled with my creative mind for years, trying to control what should I be doing, you know, for security, for creative, you know, it's just, you know, it's a human aspect. So, but everything I'm involved with, whether it's production management, whether it's acting, being a director, writer, I don't think there's anything else I really want to be doing. The the most challenging aspect, I would say, is the inconsistency of work, the difficulty of breaking ground in this industry as someone with no connections, you know. I mean, I'm just a guy from New York, went to Brooklyn College, and I'm just trying to make my way somewhere. No nepotism, no trust fund. I moved to LA from New York without really knowing anybody and just kind of fought tooth and nail for these opportunities. But it seems like ground is being made, you know, making some leeway here, and I also take it serious. Um, and just to add on to that real quick, I'm also leaning more towards introverted personality type. So I'm not really the guy yelling and on TikTok and, you know, wanting to be like liked by everyone. There's no shade to those people, but it just makes it a little more difficult to get noticed in that way.
You talked about the inconsistency and the fluctuation of work. How do you kind of keep yourself motivated to stay on the path and not discourage yourself from, oh man, I haven't received work in a while. How do you keep yourself afloat and how do you stay motivated?
Well, two things. There's the people you surround yourself with, your support system. Very, very, very integral. I think, you know, without having a couple of friends, without having a, you know, supportive family. My family wasn't supportive at first, but once they saw how passionate I was, they got a little bit more into it. You know, whoever your partner is, you know, make sure that they're involved in some way and trying to keep you, you know, on the ball. And because, like I said, your mind wants to combat with like, I don't know if this is working. I don't know if I'm getting anywhere, but you know, if other people tell you that, you know, what you're doing is good and that their people reach out to you, you know, like Michael reached out to me and said, hey, you know, you're doing great things. This is awesome. And I'm like, I guess it is kind of awesome. Sometimes you forget. So it's good to have other people who tell you these things and just keep you focused.
And again, I knew you as a student, so I'm very proud. So when I saw that on Instagram, I'm like, wow, all right, that's awesome. Yeah. So that's why I was like, I definitely wanted you to kind of come and share some advice with students for sure.
Yeah, and I appreciate that.
Of
I do.
course. Abby, is there another? I forget if there's another.
Yeah, there's another question. You also said that you were an introvert, and to kind of be in this industry, the actor industry or the media industry, do you believe that there's a certain type of good fit or kind of characteristics or values that a person should have in order to really be successful in the industry?
I think, you know, you are who you are, you know, but we all work on different aspects of ourselves. And I think that in terms of being more introverted, you know, networking is a thing, like going out and talking to people and going to events and things like that always kind of turned me off because it felt, you know, it felt fake to me. You know, I'd rather meet you naturally and see how we vibe. But it's part of the game. You know, you just got to play the game. And sometimes I like to make myself into a character and go on these things. You know, it doesn't have to be myself. You know, it's just a persona that you put on. But of course, once you get to know people, you don't want to be uh, fake in that way, but it's just to give you more confidence and put yourself out there more and say, this is my extroverted side. You know, this is an extroverted character and something like that. But the traits you need to have is to constantly want to improve, to build your network, you know, surround yourself with people who know more than you do at the things you want to get better at. That's really the only way to become truly great, I think, in my opinion.
That's absolutely true. You know, it's not only what you know, it's who you know, and networking is integral to this whole thing, and then relationship building with the people that you do want to be surrounded by. I mean, it's no secret that people like James Cameron kind of keeps using the same kind of actors and crew because he knows he can rely on them and trust them, right? So, um, and again, going back to what you said about the introverted part, um, a part that's you can't get away from is going to be the networking. So when you're talking about it's more like professional persona. Like you're this is the persona that you have to kind of put out there, and then you'll be able to tell which are the people that you can really work with and mesh well with. So everyone here should really think about that for sure.
Mhm.
You're not going to get into the entertainment media industry by not networking. You have to network. You're going to have to put yourself out there. You're going to have to put your creative work out there, right? So I have a question here, which is, you know, what do you know now, Alex, that you wish you knew earlier?
Basically, to what you were saying, what I was touching upon, network. It's really annoying. It's really annoying because it, like I said, it does feel fake. But once you actually connect with people on a level beyond the profession. Like you talk about things that you like you talk about a video game or you talk about a book you're reading, and it's like, oh, what, you get a bit more personable. But I wish that in BC I had networked more, and I had my friends here and there, but my mind was on things that our early 20-year-old was thinking about, which doesn't even matter now. It was fun then, but you got to stay in contact with everybody that you meet, as long as they don't suck. Every interaction may have meaning. A BC media mixer that you talk to someone for 15 minutes may in 2 years become a job. Like it's weird like that.
Absolutely. It's about relationship building. I have an alumni mentor who I've known since 2003, so yeah, and he's a movie producer also. Wait, I may have mentioned him,
Oh
Patrick
yeah,
Wall,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to put you in touch with Patrick and you guys can chat because I think that'd be a good connection. So again, this is all about networking. This is about community, building in a sense too. We're all CUNY here, especially in Brooklyn College. So um, all very important things. So I think we're going to go into some Q&A now. So we're going to check the chat. We're okay. We're on time with our schedule. If we go past 12:30 a little bit, uh, we could be okay, but let's go with the first question. Actually, Mary, I'll handle this one, and if you want to handle the other ones. The first question is, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Which is a great question from Jennifer.
Yeah, so right now it's all something that you can't really predict, but what I would like to see myself doing is producing these original films, working on projects that are long-term series regulars, comedy, drama. I really look towards like someone like Jordan Peele, Issa Rae, like they create their own masterful works and they put it out there. The girl from Abbott Elementary, I forget her name, I'm so sorry. But they traditionally have made content and just improved and built and built and built. And that's what I'm doing with my short films. I meet these people and I create better content. I have a cousin out here who's also in the industry, and we're writing our own series to pitch. We already have an outline for 8-episode series, so we're gonna film that, pitch it, see what happens. But it's all just a grind, and I think that being that mix of producer, writer, actor is just ideal for me.
Absolutely. And again, something for everyone to think about too is being sort of like the complete package, right? You can handle all these aspects. You're not just like production, post-production, you're doing these other creative areas and avenues, and that's what's going to make you marketable and competitive, for sure.
Yeah.
Mary.
So what do you feel most prepared you in school for the entertainment business?
I think that it created a good foundation. It really introduced me to a little bit of the process. Like school is only going to prepare you so much because the real world is literally a school in itself. Like it's two totally different things, but you use the tools that they have, the computer, the labs, the cameras, you meet the people there, you stay in touch, you have a network, and you go from there. It really college can't prepare you for the real world in that way. It could just kind of set you up for success so that you vary on your own path and you somewhat knowledgeable and you're not as dumb as you was.
100%.
Just to tag on to that, yeah, just and when we worked on your resume years ago, again, the project that you worked on, yeah, that was all important stuff, right? So
Yeah.
take advantage of everything that you could do while in college, and you're always going to grow. I mean, I've worked with people that are like, oh my God, I can't look at the stuff that I did in like college, but it did put you on the path. It did set up the foundation. You're always going to grow and develop your content as time goes on.
Yeah, and that's just life. Like I said, but just kind of you're in college and you want to do college stuff, but also keep the future in mind.
Yeah. Mary, let's check
Yep. So how do you overcome imposter syndrome as a creative?
Oh, why'd you ask this question? That's tough, man. Especially as I said, as an introverted person, you know, you're constantly in your head, and you're very much in your mind is like, am I worthy? Am I good enough? And something that really helped me actually was practicing gratitude. You know, not to get all spiritual guru type of thing, but um, a book that really helped me was called The Artist's Way, and it kind of molded where the path I wanted to go, and it helped kind of discover my gratitude for a lot of things in life and who I wanted to be as an artist. So gratitude is very important because it kind of keeps you grounded in the now. And when you have social media and all these different things where you see other people succeeding and you're at your point don't have any success yet, it you know it really, I don't know, social media does something to you. So I think reminding yourself who you have in your life, what you have right now. You have an apartment, you're paying your bills, you have food that you're gonna eat for dinner. Like that's good enough, you know, it's, for now.
Definitely. And so another question is, how do you handle rejection when finding work or any other opportunities?
Um, you always do a little bit of reflecting, and try to improve a little bit. You know, with acting, rejection is that's part of like that's part of it. My nickname is rejection. You know what I mean? Like you just have to take the hits and keep on going. But what's also important is to reflect a little bit on like what can I have done better in that part, because you only have so much time to do a project, do an audition. You know, what could I do better? But just don't dwell on the negative and like I could. Oh man, I messed up. You know, I suck. Like you know that leads into a snowball to kind of you know the voice that's inside you. It matches to what you're thinking, and it really directs you to like negativity, positivity. It's um yeah.
I mean, but that's part of the game, right? That's part of the industry
Mhm.
itself. So,
Yeah.
Mary, I'll ask the next one. We have a couple more questions here before we move on to our next speaker. What does being an artist mean to you? Or why is it important in this day and age to continue creating art?
um just being an artist to me is just doing what speaks to the soul, in terms of creating, in terms of writing. You know, I don't have to flaunt the things that I'm writing, whether it's like a short film or a short story or anything like that. It's something that is literally food for your soul. It's for you. You know, you can share it with the world if you want to, but art is really meant from the soul and it's for you. And if you want to share it with people, that's great. And if people love it, that's even better. You know, but you don't do it for that. Um, what was the second part of that, Michael? Sorry, there was something else.
Why is it important in this day and age to continue
Oh,
creating art?
right. Yeah. I would say right now it's something interesting because AI is becoming so prevalent in technology nowadays that people are getting muddled with like, can AI take over what, you know, the world and all these different things. And, you know, sometimes I see art and I see movies and series that, and I talked about this with a friend yesterday, it like transcends like almost like perfection. Like it's just so beautiful and so well done that like I can't even fathom the idea that uh you know an artificial thing would create something like this, because you need people, you need voices, you need writers, you need production managers, you need directors, producers, you need all these people, you need each other to do this. It can't just be done by yourself. So I think it's very important to just keep on creating, keep on doing art, and you know being with other people who do what you love as well.
Absolutely. And this ties into the next question, which is, what's your take on getting an effective mentor or any tips on searching for an appropriate mentor for the direction we want to go in? And I just want to just finish my thought from a few minutes ago. I don't think I made the full connection, but Patrick Newell is an alum of Brooklyn College. He's a movie producer. When I first met him, he was a screenwriter, and he worked his way up to now being an executive producer on the Chris Hemsworth Extraction movies. So, again, for everybody here, you should expand your network and meet people, and you never know where they're going to go and end up, who they're going to become. But always stay on their radar. So, like I said, even when I saw Alex and he was at the premiere, he was at a premiere for like a movie, I forget whichever it was. I reached out to him 'Cause you never know. You just never know where people are going to go and how do you maintain those relationships, right? Always say hi to people, always say happy birthday or happy holidays. That's a great way to do that. And ask them what projects they're working on. But what's your take on that, Alex, also in terms of like finding an effective mentor, or the appropriate type of mentor?
Um, I would say that Michael was my first mentor. When I was in Brooklyn College, he helped, and this was something that I came out to need. I outreached, and asked him for resume help, and then he was writing a comic book series, and I was like, oh, this is so interesting. Like I'm intrigued, and it just became like kind of a friendship in that way. But I think the people that you really either look up to, you admire their work, whether it be a friend, whether it be a teacher, whether it be even a family member, it doesn't have to be, tutoring like one-on-one. It could just be indirect mentoring, like you watch their material, you watch their videos, you admire their art, you listen to podcasts. I listen to a lot of podcasts of people who are very knowledgeable and spiritual in that way that indirectly affect me, because the things that they say are like, they're not things you can really encounter with social media or talking to people, but you have to go out and find that in terms of like where you want to be and who you want to be. So, outreach if you want, email. Yeah.
And before we get to the next question, so for everybody here, and especially our other speakers, so we don't have our fifth speaker. So we're going over a little bit in terms of the schedule. So we have a couple extra minutes. If that's okay with everybody here, that's fine. If not, message me directly, and then we'll kind of move on to the next speaker. And then also, if there are any other questions for our alumni, if the alum want to stay and maybe answer some of the questions in the chat, if you have a few minutes to do that. Avi, there's another question here.
A question from Tavina, if I'm saying it right. Apologies if I didn't say it right. Her question is, how would you pitch your work?
In terms of, I guess, in terms of acting or production, I think when I worked with a publicist last year, we had talked about this, kind of like how can I pitch you? And what I would say is that the things that I create and who I am is authentically genuine, to wanting to build more representation, specifically for me around more Latino representation in the industry, and giving opportunity to those who might be overlooked, you know, throughout life. Again, as an introvert, I know it's very annoying, sorry, but you get overlooked a lot because you're not outspoken, you're not the one that's glowing and loud, and I like to interact with people who are on the side by themselves, because they're afraid that they're not going to be liked, or they're afraid to really speak up, and more often than not, those people are the most interesting ones in the room. And I think that is how I would pitch myself, just to give people opportunity to build more representation, and just genuinely creating awesome stuff that, fantastical, ethereal, supernatural things that speak to me.
Um, I have another question here from Amelia, and it says, do you think it's better to save releasing work until it's close to perfect, or to release projects quicker to show some kind of artistic progression or refinement?
It all depends. I would say, if this is actually interesting, because I just went to Puerto Rico to visit my parents, and I wanted to shoot a short film based on an idea that was uh close to me and my family, like something that happened as a kid, and also in a space of like horror, in a way, and I really wanted to get it done because I was only there for a week, but because I wanted to put it out in the world and like get into more festivals and do more stuff. But as I realized over time, I was like, I'm taking away time from being with my family to work on this project, and it's going to be rushed, just so I can show people it. And I had to make a decision and say, this is for me, and I need to take time with it, because it's more important than just getting a few likes. You have to determine whether that piece of art means something to you, and you want to take your time with it and make it the best you can. or if it's just something that you want to write off and just show, and it's things you have to determine. I think you can make like an importance chart for all this content and videos and art that you're doing, but for social media, it is also important to show that you are indeed creating.
Absolutely. I think we're only have time for maybe one more question. And Alex, I don't know if you have some time maybe to answer maybe some questions in the chat that some of the other students have.
Sure. Yeah.
Before we jump into that, I shared with the students LinkedIn. So if the students want to stay in touch with you, can they do that through LinkedIn, or what's the best way?
Yeah, LinkedIn is fine. You could also reach out on social media. That's fine as well. Especially if you want to get into the career of acting or anything with media. I can take time and talk to you about it. I'd like to extend the branch when I know sometimes I didn't have it. So that's very important.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Final question. Do you believe in ending up where you are supposed to, and that the right career will find you if it's meant to be?
I do think there is an element of that. Faith is a big part of it. You have to be good at what you do, be hardworking, be dedicated, but faith is also a big element because, like I said, your mind wants to stray away from the path and lean to something more secure. So I think that. Sorry, what was the question?
Are you meant to be where
Oh,
this career path will find you?
yeah. It will. In a way, it does find you, but stay focused, stay determined, and I do think that everything works out the way it's supposed to be, as long as you have everything in mind and you are determined. Sorry, running out of gas.
Absolutely. No, it's okay. You have to be in it to win it, basically, And Alex, you're doing great stuff. Like I said, I'm really proud of you.
Thank you, Mike.
Good luck today. You said you have an audition today.
Yes. I
So
do.
some show called The Walking Dead. I think I've heard of that, maybe. A spinoff.
No, it's a spin-off show. It's a big role in a spin-off show. They're doing like 5 of them now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
But you're doing good. So,
Thanks,
again,
Mike.
thank you for your time today. Great advice.
Thank you.
If you could stay and chat with students, if you want to stay in touch with Alex, please do. Again, a lot of really great insight here. And I hope to, the same for all the other alumni, but I hope to have each one of them maybe for longer Zooms, maybe in the future. So thank you again, Alex. Really,
For sure.
we really, truly appreciate it.
Thanks, Michael. Thank you, everyone.
Right. All right. So we are going to our next speaker, who I also knew as a student, Tiffany Charbonnier, who is a project manager online education at NYU Wagner, not Magner. See, sorry, got Magner on the mind. And as a student here, right, you were psychology, marketing, and journalism.
That's right. Yes.
All right. So introduce yourself, and let's get into the first question. Which is what factors inspired you to select this particular career?
Yeah. So thank you, Mike, for having me, and Mary and Abby for your help. And Alex, your story is amazing. I'm so proud to have gone to the same undergrad that you graduated from, and so excited for your journey. I'm Tiffany. Hello, everybody. I am currently a project manager for online education at NYU Wagner, which we call the smallest school with the biggest heart at NYU. It's the School of Nonprofit Service. But I did graduate from Brooklyn College with a psychology major and a marketing and journalism minor. At the time, I wanted to be a writer and was convinced I was going to write my own books and then ghostwrite and then be the voice of, whatever at the time I was thinking. But I guess kind of Alex was talking about kind of like staying true to yourself and stuff like that. I had my 2 parents behind me always saying, like, make sure you make money, make sure you know business. we know you like to paint, Tiffany, but like make sure you understand a little bit of the business space. And so I think that's kind of why I made sure to take advantage of minors during my journey. And I started writing for the school paper at Brooklyn College, the Excelsior at the time. And that allowed me to build a writing portfolio and connect with people. And that's when I started writing for some of and covering some of the Magna events. And I met Mike and I met Natalia. And, you know, at the time, I was just kind of pursuing that thing that I wanted at the time to write. In writing at Brooklyn College, I also started to realize I love to paint. And so I got into painting and started meeting these artists. But along my 4 years at Brooklyn College, I thought to myself, maybe I'm not the best painter, but I'm really good at writing. So I'm going to write about painters. So as an aside, as a hobby while at Brooklyn College, I started to write for Brooklyn blogs on upcoming artists that were in Brooklyn. Long story short, Natalia, when I graduated, she connected me with an editor at a publishing house called John Wiley & Sons. I got the job because I had a writing portfolio. I knew how to like network and I had a, you know, great resume, and I got a job as an editor at this publishing house. And it really kind of opened the world of the business of arts and the business of writing, which I found really interesting. And then I had a friend at the time who, kind of like Alex was talking about, like being in that space of wanting to kind of amplify Latina voices. I had a friend at the time who worked at NYU, and she's like, hey girl, I know you want to be a writer, or you want to like, you know, do your content design thing. Come to NYU, you can get your master's for free. We need more people of color graduating with their masters. And so I started working at NYU with the goal of writing better and communicating better. And then I realized there was a whole world of design for learners. And so my day-to-day just writing was for people who wanted more information on something. My whole day-to-day on editing was for people who wanted to learn more or read more or like get into a whole new world. And so I did a master's degree in a program called Digital Media Design for Learning, which is really complicated, but basically it just mixes psychology classes with design classes like videography and graphic design and game development. And so you learn how to efficiently design things so that people learn quicker. And it was really fascinating. It's a whole emerging kind of industry for anybody who's interested in design and web development and just like writing online and content creation. And even, you know, if you want to do like the social media route, there's a lot of really cool theory and science behind how to create things for people. Anyway, so I ended up in online education, still at NYU. I will add though, every so often, I do have an informal and a formal mentor. Every so often, my formal mentor, she tells me to like date jobs is what she calls it. And so don't tell my employer, but she'll say, you know, it's important every so often to just like have a really good resume and just like apply to a job. Even if you're not going to take it, it keeps your interview skills sharp and it helps you learn what's happening in the field. And so I did take an interview 2 years ago for an agency. They do virtual production for all the like Disney Plus new shows that are coming out. And so this role was as a project manager, helping this studio who has now partnered with NYU to build a huge studio in Industry City. It actually opens this fall. It's called the Martin Scorsese Virtual Production Center. So they are a new facility in South Brooklyn. They are basically going to be employing the students who are starting a master's production in virtual production at NYU Tisch. So like, here's this new studio, here's these students, and they're partnering to train these students to be in virtual production for these like really massive productions under Disney. And so this role that I was interviewing for was to help document the ways and the strategies that like producers were using CGI and some of these other techniques that they were employing, and house them in one place, and create almost kind of like an institute for virtual production for people who were coming in and working for this company. Because it seemed at the time like people were like getting hired, editing, moving on to somewhere else. And so when someone asked the question, like, how did they create that blood splurting, scene in like season 3, episode 2, like no one would have an answer. And so some of it was just like documenting, these kind of things. And anyway, long story short, I think some of the things that kind of inspired me into my career, I really just wanted to be a writer. I really was just like, all right, I'm really good at kind of like being here, understanding the landscape, like writing, to that AI question. Like sometimes you do need somebody to be there to like translate, to understand the dynamics of the room, to understand what's happening, to be kind of the human element. And it somehow has led me here. And so, yeah.
That's a lot of really amazing stuff. I mean, you've had such a really great career path, honestly, and something for everyone to consider too, lifelong learning and what do you do after Brooklyn College, and going back to what you had said earlier also about the passion for, certain things like writing or painting and whatnot. Yeah, you should definitely understand the business side for sure. I mean, I see that you're a PMP, right? That's a project management professional. I mean, there are things like that that everybody should consider to make yourself more competitive, and you're growing professionally with a lot of these different things that you can explore. So no, great stuff for sure. Avi, I think, had some follow-up questions for you as well.
Thank you for coming on, Tiffany. A question that I have for you is, as college is a confusing time for a lot of people, they have interests in different fields and different areas. What advice would you give for students that may be unsure about maybe their major, about what kind of future career path that they would want to choose?
Yeah. So someone told me something and I never forgot it. It was kind of like a formula. And so basically this person said, let's say for me, I'm interested in writing. Your job falls in 3 buckets: what you do, where you do it, and in what industry you do it. And so like at the time I could be a writer. That would be like, what do I do? But I also could just be an accountant at a writing company, or I could be like a front desk person, a receptionist at at the new Netflix studios in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, in the arts industry. And so I think that kind of helped me, because at the time I wasn't sure. I don't know that many people that are really sure in college, especially in the art space, because you're kind of just, like practicing gratitude, trying to network. And I think anything that helps you get closer to something you think you'll enjoy in any of those buckets, I would consider a win. So like even being here, attending an event like this, it's helpful. Every exposure that you get to get you closer to where you want to be gets you there. I have like at NYU, I have a student worker now who, she's an amazing data analyst. So I ask her like, what do you want to do? And she's like, I want to work for Spotify. I want to do data analytics for them. But when you look at all those jobs, they're very like high level. And so she's entry. And so my encouragement to her was just like, do data analytics for any company, right? It gets you a little bit closer. You start to develop a portfolio. And now when you're looking for a job at Spotify in 5 years, you can say, hey, sure, I worked at the largest healthcare system doing data analytics, but I saved X millions of dollars and X and this and that. And you have something that gets you a little closer to that goal.
Hmm.
And just to add to that, also the transferable skills, right, Tiffany? You know, again, everyone should leverage the transferable skills. What did you gain from the different hats that you may wear? You know, and how you can transition to other places, correct? I mean, that's something that I think all students should really think about.
Yes, that's right, Mike. And also, I started in book publishing. And so at the time, Amazon was taking over and ebooks was the thing. And I said, oh crap, I don't really have a skill set, like a hard skill set to maybe work at Amazon. But getting my PMP was like, hey, now all of a sudden Amazon's interested in me. So just, yeah, like understanding what can transfer and like how to make sure you're transferable.
Uh,
Um,
go ahead, Avi.
you want you want me to? Okay.
Yeah.
As a writer, there seems to be some times when we get so caught up in our work. I do some writing as well, and you have this unbalanced of life and work. How do you maintain an effective work-life balance in not only your work but your personal life, your relationships, and other hobbies that you may have?
Yeah, that's a great question. Um, well, um, I can only speak to my perspective. I worked a lot in my 20s. I know I look like I'm 16 years old, but I'm 36. I worked a lot in my 20s. I worked, the 9 to 5. I wrote for fun after work. I spent my weekends, working on my hobbies and my talents, I'm sure as many of you do. There is, I think, I have a theory that the grind that you put into your 20s really sets you up for your 30s. Not that the journey ends there, but I think the grind that you put into like your connections in Brooklyn College set you up for the next chapter, set you up for your first job. And the grind that you do there sets you up for the next job. I think hard work is always needed, and what you put in is what you get out. But I do think, kind of like to the networking piece before, I think networking and meeting people and having at least 3 questions for everybody you meet can really save you time in your journey. When you learn from other people's lessons, I think that can help set you up. I think also taking on, like if you do internships and stuff, taking on projects, like volunteering for like a bigger project can help save you time because now you're in like a conversation that's higher than you. But balance is very difficult. I found it a lot easier when I didn't have a child and stuff like that. But you learn how to like delegate, and you learn how to I think learning how to delegate and like learning time management skills and things like that definitely are important the more you grow and take on in your career.
Again, and you're going to learn this on the way, right? Along the way. Like I've learned things working here at Magna Center that I did not know when I was a student either. So you kind of like learn as you go. That's why there's that phrase, lifelong learning. So, and then like you said, Tiffany, this idea of being able to multitask, delegate work, be able to be highly organized, manage your time effectively. These are all things that you're all going to do over the course of time in the work that you do. So I'm going to ask one more question, and then we have a couple questions in the chat. And this ties into sort of like what you had said earlier, which is, what do you know now that you wish you knew earlier, that I think students should be aware of?
Yeah. I wish that I was more confident around people who were in higher positions than me. I think, like you said, Mike, it is a skill. Like you learn to get more comfortable around people. But I was always that person who, like, when the president of the company walked into the building, I was like, do 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 do. When it's like I probably should have been like, Hi, I'm Tiffany. You probably don't know anything about me, but I admire your work, or I saw that article that you wrote, or this or that. It really goes a long way. Like people want to share about themselves. People want you to win. They want to make more money. They want you to help them. They want you, like it's I wish I was more confident. And so I think I wish I told my younger self, like, just say hi. Just say, how's your day going? What's an interesting project that you're working on, that kind of thing. I also wish that I know this sounds like kind of silly, but like I wish I knew that if I worked at a university, I could get additional schooling compensated. And not to say that like everybody needs to get their master's, because like you can succeed without, you know, degrees. But I think sometimes I find that depending on who's in the room, like additional certificates and additional degrees help. And if you find yourself just like, oh, I don't have money and stuff like that, which at the time I thought master's degrees were they still are too expensive, you can work your way temporarily in an environment that has those certificates and be compensated that way for training.
Great, great. Thank you. Thank you. We're going to take some questions in the chat. So there's about two more questions. Mary, ask Bradler's question.
Sure. So Bradler asked, what is the best way to get experience in marketing for someone who has no experience?
Yeah, so experience is just like one of those things you kind of just need to get. There's no like course in experience. My recommendation would probably be two things. One, to get an internship, like a formal internship, in a marketing team or marketing department. And that can be for a big company, little company, one person, doing a project. And then the second thing would be to maybe volunteer to do marketing for like a small business, or a person, like going across the street to like a new fashion store and saying, hey, I'll run your social media profiles for the next 6 months. If you give me the opportunity, and that way you can have a portfolio saying I did social media management for XYZ. Also, in some ways, you can kind of grow, like if you want to like start a YouTube channel, or start to kind of get your hands dirty by just creating your own content. You can kind of learn a lot about marketing that way. But I always personally feel like if marketing is your thing, you're like, I want to be the best marketer in the whole world. Sometimes I think it's helpful to have like internships at like a small company, medium company, large company, because everybody kind of works differently. The roles are different, the specializations are different. But just getting your foot in the door any of those ways, I think, is helpful.
And to follow up on what you had said, Tiffany, this idea of like kind of creating your own content. I mean, when I was doing, as Alex and Tiffany mentioned, I was doing graphic novels. I was creating graphic novels about 10 years ago. Took a long break that I needed, but during that time, I learned about how to market myself and the books through Kickstarter, because that was crowdfunding, and I don't have a degree in marketing, but hey, when you have a book and you're trying to raise $8,000 through social media only, I learned a lot from that. So I think that's very valuable for everyone here to really consider, like creating your own content. It's easier now. I mean, back then, we're talking about back in 2012, I did a Kickstarter and I was looking to raise $8,000 and nobody knew who I was. And luckily I had an artist that had some work under his belt that was recognizable, and we raised $14,000 just through that one Kickstarter. So it is possible. Where there's a will, there's a way. Now, I want to add something to the chat too, in terms of if somebody here is interested in marketing, going back to Tiffany, kind of taking that extra step to get these certifications and whatnot. Co-op Careers is a great program that students can look into after you've graduated. They're only available after you've graduated. But keep that in mind. It's a great program, and a lot of my former students have gone through co-op and now they're working at different companies now. So I hope that's helpful for many of the students here. Mary, we have time for one more question.
Okay, perfect. So we have a question here that says, how do you market your writing if you're independent?
That is a great question. I know many of you, including Mike, have felt that, as he just kind of alluded to. Um, so my perspective, and this is a cheat, and Mike is going to hate me for this, but my strategy when I was writing and blogging was I pitched to publications that had already a marketing person or team behind them. And I think that's a really great way to get your foot in the door. A lot of publications are looking for writers, are looking for ideas, networking with editors, networking with teams, emailing, learning how to pitch a publication, starting with an opinion piece, is a great way to get at least one really solid like publication name. And it really just takes one piece at the Atlantic or at, you know, this maybe like comic compilation to like really put your name out there. That would be my suggestion, but it is a grind. I think linking up with other writers and becoming a force, and maybe linking up with other people who like might have more leverage or like a business mindset can help you in that journey too.
Great. I think, again, all the advice that you've shared here, I think students really should think about, walk away with as you're planning what you're going to do while you're in college. Again, you wrote for the Excelsior College newspaper, and then all the things that you've done since then. Again, students should really think about that as they continue on their career journey. Thank you so much for your time, Tiffany. Really appreciate it. Great advice. There's one more question in the chat. I don't know if you have a few minutes maybe to address that if you want to. Okay.
Sure.
And can students stay in touch with you at all? Would it be LinkedIn?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I'm
LinkedIn.
happy
Okay.
to be informal or formal mentor.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you, Tiffany. You're
Thank
great.
you.
Okay, so we are going to we have two more speakers. Our next speaker is Nadine Rodriguez from Rock Nation. So hello, Nadine. How are you today?
Hi, everyone. How's
Hello.
everyone doing?
Good. We're having great conversations here about what students should be thinking about in terms of their career, how to make themselves competitive, and of course, we appreciate everybody that's speaking and sharing advice today. So we're just going to hop right in. So if you could introduce yourself and what factors inspired you to select your current career.
Okay, I kind of want to throw a little curveball in here real quick and steal 60 seconds of this Zoom.
Sure.
And really try to get to know everyone that's on the Zoom real quick, 60 seconds. Let's use the chat room. And then I'll jump in to tell y'all a little bit about myself because I really think it's important that we all engage throughout this. So my first question is, and please just drop it in the chat. I want to know where everyone is from, right? Hey, Gisele. Hey, Steven. Drop in the chat, where are you from? I'm from the Bronx, but I was born in Brooklyn. Okay, we have somebody from the Bronx here. Queens, okay, Queens get the money. Brooklyn, hometown, a lot of Brooklyn in here. Yeah, Westchester County, okay. All right, hi, Linda. Nice, Jersey, okay. So we have a lot of New York natives, and Jersey, that's still considered New York, you know, it's our cousin. All right, two more questions real quick. We're gonna jump into it. I wanna know what's everybody's major. Let's drop in those majors in there in the chat room. I'm gonna give y'all 5 seconds of music. Okay, I took a music class when I was in Brooklyn College, communications, that's my major. Journalism, grad school, business admin, film production, nice. Media, marketing, business administration. I did my associate's degree in business administration and management, and then I went to Brooklyn College. All right, last one, last question, y'all ready? Okay, so I want y'all to drop one word to describe how you feel right now about your career path. Are you excited? And be honest. I just want to know. Lost, excited, confident, clear, thrilled, nervous, tired. I get that one. Excited and lost, exploring, foggy, optimistic, doubtful. Okay. Thank you so much for being so honest. I think that this is really important. Because, you know, I hope that throughout this conversation and me introducing myself and sharing my story while answering your questions, you all walk away with something that you feel that really is going to keep you motivated and focused on your career path, even if you don't know what you're doing or want to do in the future. Hopefully there's something that I leave you guys with that you can take with you to kind of figure that out. So there goes my little icebreaker. Let me give you a little bit introduction of who I am real quickly. So I'm Nadine Rodriguez. I was born in Brooklyn, as I mentioned, but raised in the Bronx. I'm Puerto Rican. I got my bachelor's degree at Brooklyn College, and I graduated in 2017. Yeah, 2017. I majored in communications. I minored in marketing. You know, before going to Brooklyn College, I was at BMCC doing business administration management. However, the one thing that did draw me to Brooklyn College was the radio station. And, you know, growing up, I really, really wanted to be like an Angie Martinez, right? Everybody loves someone, they look up to someone, and Angie Martinez was someone that I looked up to. And I went in, I started out as an intern. I ended up becoming I applied to become like the promotions director. But I'm just someone that's very ambitious and likes to challenge myself no matter how nervous I am or I don't know what I'm doing. So I applied eventually to become the GM and the president of Brooklyn College, and I did that. So I was the president, general manager for Brooklyn College. I was so happy. I was producing shows and also interning at the same time. So that's a quick little spiel. You know, I come from a big family, 5 siblings, and music has always been embedded in our lives. So that answers the first question.
Love it. No, that's really great. No, I love the icebreaker. I like that. It's really great. And appreciate the fact, again, I'm always telling students, get involved on campus, right? Going back to Tiffany writing for the newspaper, I'm always telling students, yes, go and work at the radio station. Try to get more things on your resume. I work on students' resumes all the time. So that's definitely something that needs to be on there.
What do you enjoy most about your career, and what seems to be challenging,
Okay.
maybe previous or present?
Okay. What I love about working here is it doesn't feel like a job. You know, a lot of times you clock in and you clock out, right? And essentially that's what I have to do here on paper, but it feels like I'm living my purpose. You know, I get to do day-to-day, I get to be creative. So whether it's campaigns, like coming up with marketing strategies, or hands-on in production, you know, setting up video shoots, hiring certain photographers or creatives to be a part of it. Whether it's leading the conversation and allowing others to showcase their strengths and their ideas and to lead on that. Aside from that is meeting people. I get to travel and meet people from different verticals across the industry, or even just consumers. And the last thing is, like, again, like, music is definitely my purpose. And I found a place where I don't necessarily need to get behind a mic because I can't sing and I can't rap. But I could definitely take an artist or a talent and help them, you know, put them in front of more eyeballs.
Really great. Again, visibility, engagement, especially with social media and the way things is being consumed nowadays, right? So this ties into my next question, then we'll start taking questions in the chat. You know, what do you know now that you wish you knew earlier?
What I know now is your now is only a step towards where you want to be in the future. And when I say that, it's, you know, a lot of students here shared how they felt with one word. You know, there were certain I'm lost. I don't know what I want to do. I'm optimistic. You know, I had all of those feelings as well when I was in college or before I even entered college or even throughout my internships, right? And you cannot harbor into those feelings. You need to understand that this is that feeling. What are the steps that I'm going to take to make sure that I find the solution to get over this, right? Or understand what I really want to do. And essentially you can do whatever you want and anything that you put your mind to. So don't be afraid to just jump in.
Absolutely. Yeah, take the initiative. Just do it. Mary, we have several questions in the chat. We'll try to get to as many as we can, and then we have one final speaker. So
Hey Nadine.
Hi.
So one question here is, what steps do you take to reach your goals and projects?
Oh, wow. Okay, so I know maybe some people here are into zodiac signs, but maybe not. I'm a Pisces, so I'm a natural born dreamer. I dream all day. I journal, I make vision boards. They all come true, right? Eventually. But what I did notice is that I kind of procrastinated for a while. Or I doubted myself at certain moments. And it kind of took me a little longer for certain things to happen, right? And one of the biggest lessons that I did learn, that is going to answer the questions of some of the steps that I take is I read this book called The 12-Week Year. And essentially what that does is all the things that we do in a year, it teaches you how to do it in 12 weeks, which is 3 months. And the biggest thing was about procrastination, organization, and being very intentional. So some of the steps that I do take is at the beginning of every quarter of the year, I write down a goal list. So I already have my goal list for the whole year. And then I break it down into actionable items. Okay, since I want to, let's see, I wanna give you guys a goal. I want to roll out 4 marketing campaigns that hit top 100 charts. I'm just throwing it out there. Okay, cool. If I want to do 4 campaigns and it's 4 quarters, let me just start scheduling and planning so that I can have 1 project every month to roll out and work with the teams to roll it out. Aside from that, so it's the goals, it's the action items, and then revisiting them every quarter. Just to make sure that I'm on track. And if I'm not on track, then it's okay. Things happen, right? But it definitely puts me back on track to still reach the goals that I want to reach. I may not hit all 4, I'm on Hot 100, but I'm gonna hit 1 and I'm gonna bring back a certification or an award or something.
Thank you.
The chat is so active. I love this.
Yeah, you have a bunch
Drop
of
the question.
We have a question here from Andy. How did you get your foot in the music business, and how can we market ourselves for this form of industry?
Amazing question. All right, so before I even went to college, and I probably shouldn't be saying this, but I'm gonna give you guys some cheat codes. I picked up a camera. You know, I'm super creative. You know, while you are in college, do not limit yourself. You can do anything, explore, figure out what you like, what you don't, what you're good at, what you're not, and hustle, right? So what I did was I picked up a camera and I used to take pictures. I used to go to SOBs, Sounds of Brazil. I'm not sure if anyone really knows what that is, but it's a live music venue. It's a staple. A lot of artists have went through that in order before they made it big. But I used to go to SOBs and I would take pictures at the front line. I would go in the front and I would just take pictures. I didn't have anybody that I was taking pictures for but myself and my Tumblr account. Yeah, I'm that old. So I had Tumblr at that time. And just doing that, I met a lot of people. So while meeting people, I had a lot of conversations, and someone had told me about The Source magazine. I started interning at The Source magazine as a photographer. This is before I went to college. I did tell them I was in college, but the truth was I was enrolling in college. So I ended up going to college. So I was interning at the Source magazine. I did Power 105 because I used my resume that I developed using the Brooklyn College radio station as leverage to showcase that I have an understanding. And I also had a passion for music media. And I also highlighted the classes I was taking aside from that. So like I was a communications major. I was like, all right, let me just put in that I took a press class, I took this radio class, I took this music class, and this journalism class. And then from there, you know, I interned for the Breakfast Club. And while I was interning for the Breakfast Club, in my mind, I was like, I always wanted to do radio, but I don't know, I really want to keep trying new things. So I made really good relationships with Charlemagne the God, Angela Yee, and DJ Envy. And Angela Yee actually referred me to do Revolt Music Conference in 2016. And doing that, I got to meet more people. But when I came back, they actually offered me a job at Power 105 to be like the board operator and to train me to become a producer. You know, I personally was just like, there's more to this industry than just radio for me at this point, because I learned that over the time. And I was like, I also got to pay my bills. I don't think radio is gonna pay me what I need. So I took I took an internship at BET, doing programming, interning for Stephen Hill, the radio talent department. My coworker who is also does marketing here, I used to intern for her. And then I ended up, before I graduated, a month before I graduated Brooklyn College, I got hired at Def Jam as a production manager. And I utilized, once again, my internships, the Brooklyn College experience of being able to manage a radio station, having an understanding of different verticals in the music industry, and also having a passion for visual arts through my photography to land that position at Def Jam. And then just, you know, going into Rock Nation, I had no experience on paper what marketing was, but I had a really, really big passion for marketing and for artist development. And I just used to basically read books. You know, I might have been marketing, but it's not the same. Like you can take classes, which is great, and it's gonna be super helpful. But just having, again, staying informed outside of that, and then understanding that all these experiences in event coordination, media, TV, radio, all that stuff falls under marketing. So I was able to kind of craft my resume, which I'll show you at the end of this meeting, to really make sure that I populated in front of any other resume that had more marketing experience, so that I can pop out and say, hey, look, I know I don't have the experience that they do, but I'm hungry and I turned this around in 24 hours.
It's really great stuff. A lot of really great advice and insight. We have time for just 3 more questions. Nadine, would you be able to stay around afterwards to answer any questions in the chat, or
Yeah,
would you rather?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Will
Okay.
do.
Excellent. Great. 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 Mary has 2 questions, and I have one final one.
The next question I have is from Kristen. What is one thing you look for in choosing which companies to intern or work with?
Okay. I definitely gave you guys a rundown, and ladies, a rundown of my experience so far. When I was looking for these internships and these companies to work with, number one was definitely culture. Whether it's that overall hip hop, urban leaning targets. But the second thing, most important, is just like, how is the culture internally? How are the people? Who's leading the company? What do they represent? What's their mission statement? And do I align with that? Because if so, then I'm going to be led in the right direction of, one, to develop my skills and my professional resume, but also just in general, my leadership skills. And the last thing was, what are the areas that I have not experienced or I need more insight on? Because one of the things that I do continuously, even now, that I used to do before I went to colleges, I would go to figure out, I used to go to the job forums And I'm like, okay, this is kind of the position that appeals to me. This also appeals to me. What are the different responsibilities and requirements that they're looking for somebody from me, like me, in 3 to 5 years? Okay, cool. And these are all these different positions has this, the same and that the same, but then this is something different. So I would also look for those areas where I'm like, they're gonna be looking for someone that understands digital marketing. I essentially never had a job doing digital marketing, but every job that I've done, I've made sure to over deliver and give ideas or be in those rooms where they're talking about digital marketing and take classes online to make sure that I understood it at least. So hopefully that answers the question.
Yes, definitely. Thank you. I have one more question here. How important is mentorship to you, and what is your experience like with it, whether that's as a mentee or a mentor?
Okay. I am someone that is, one of my biggest missions is always be real and authentic, but be right as well, as much as you can. And I have had different experiences with mentorship, right? But I think the biggest thing I do want everyone to know here, especially while you're in college, is that you can always look up, right? Nobody ever wants to look down, but what we forget to do is look to the sides, and that's to your peers. You have to network across and look for mentorship relationships with the students that's across, because these are also the individuals that's gonna go to the top with you and recommend you and put your names in rooms, right? But when you start looking for the top tier mentorship, I think it's really important to have multiple, right? Different verticals. And the way you maintain those, and that's actually something that I wish that I practiced more while I was in college, but I wish I did this, and I'm doing this now, is let's get coffee, paying attention to what they're doing. Do you need help with this? Do you need connected with this? Oh my gosh, I came up with this great idea. So mentorship has been really, really helpful for me, because on the days that it does get dark and I do, we all go through it. We're like, oh my gosh, the industry is changing, or what's next for me, or, whatever the case is. They provide support, insight, and as well as just comfort, so that you know that you're not alone and you're not experiencing the feelings that you're experiencing. And they'll give you some great insight. So I think when it comes to mentorship, it's really important to have multiple. The second thing is make sure that not only are you networking up and below, but you're also side by side.
Really great. Again, and again, I'm seeing a common theme here in terms of mentorship from all our guest speakers, and how important that is, and who's in your network and who you surround yourself with. So my final question, and this might tie into what you want to share, Nadine, is any final advice that you want to share with students to make them competitive to work at Roc Nation or a similar company? Oh, you're muted.
Absolutely, sorry. Do your research, right? Know your why. And when I say know your why, that means understanding why you're going in this direction, for even if it's for right now. Because while you are in the company or industry, there's gonna be ups and downs, like I said, but you're always gonna revert to your why. But essentially, again, I mentioned it earlier, be ambitious, be open-minded, have great communications, set your goals, revisit your goals, don't be hard on yourself, practice balance. And I know that Tiffany had mentioned earlier about balance and just like how she navigates that. And I wanted to give you guys some insight. And balance for me looks like boundaries. Again, I even plan my weeks. So I'm like, all right, this is what my week looks like. I write it down. These are the meetings that I have. Outside of that, I'm going to the gym 2 to 3 times. Outside of that, on the weekend, I'm gonna go spend time with family this weekend. All right, I even write down to the point where it's like, I don't want to be on social media too much because I go down the rabbit hole and I'm sending memes all day. And by the time I look at my clock, it's already 3 o'clock in the morning. So what I do is, I write down the days like, okay, I'm gonna listen to a podcast this day. I'm gonna listen to an audiobook this day. Or this is my day where I finish all my work and I'm just gonna go home and sleep. So definitely having boundaries, practicing balance, being open-minded, ambitious, believe in yourself by any means necessary, and always be prepared for anything that you walk into, because preparation always meets opportunities, and you never want to make sure that you want to make sure you're always 2 steps ahead.
I love that. It's excellent, excellent advice. I want everybody to really think about that. Organizing yourself, planning things out. I mean, I've even done that on an Excel sheet or a Google sheet, you know.
And what I'll do also is, I know that you dropped in my LinkedIn. I do plan on sharing more information this year. That's one of my goals, is to utilize that platform to share information and give insight. So I will be sharing some of the things that we went over, some of the things that I worked on, as well as some templates. And, links to like organizations. I know that you mentioned one earlier about, staying informed. Center for Communications is something that I also signed up for while I was in college, and I will go to their panels and do their walkthroughs and ask questions there. So I will be sharing a lot of information on LinkedIn moving forward. But to wrap this up, and then I'm going to jump into the chat room. I did want to share something with you all that I learned from a woman named Amber Grimes, who is a marketing executive at Love Renaissance, and she works with Summer Walker, Black, and all the artists that's on that roster. And one of the things that she said was, before you try to market anybody, you got to market yourself. And this was my cheat code to making sure that I was able to get in front of any other marketing applications and interviews that my boss, her name is Sherry Bryant, did have meetings for. And I did this in 24 hours. So I'm going to share my screen, and I hope that you all can also take away from this. So I took it upon myself to basically sketch this up, right? You see at the top, it says Rock Nation, NAY, because my name is Nadine. I wanted to be a project manager, marketing person. I made a whole reel. And then I built out this area where it was just like, this is supposed to be a playlist like title, because it's all branded. And then these were playlists. I kept on building it out. This is what the final vision looked like. And then my friend, who was actually a designer, designed this for me. And again, my experience here as the title playlist, my education, when you click on it, is my reel, the Naylist right here, which is just basically like music enthusiasts with strong experience in video promotions and programming, because that is what I interned from. And here's all the people, all the channels that I worked with. And then I turned their store into my own shop, which is called the New Era Exec Skills That Cannot Be Purchased. So content strategy, project management, creative producing, music programming, and some of the key things that's out of stock because I'm one of one. So
that is fantastic. I like that. When you're talking about vision board and visualizing it, that's a perfect example right there.
For sure. So I'll also share this in my LinkedIn account. I know that we're already, capped for time. So I also, if you go on my LinkedIn, I also have my video reel when I did work at Def Jam, because I made it clickable so she can visually see. I want everyone to know, like, in this industry, visibility is a big thing. So that comes with marketing and marketing yourself and branding yourself. So, always come prepared. Always know your why. So whatever room you're in, you understand what you need to get out of it, but also contribute to it, and believe in yourself.
Excellent. Excellent stuff. Nadine, thank you so much for your time. Again, if you could stay and kind of answer some more questions in the chat, we truly appreciate that. I hope we can have you here, either on Zoom again or in person, at a future event. Fantastic advice. Thank you so much.
Let's do it, Michael. Let's do it.
All right. Make that happen. You guys heard it here first. Okay, and we have time for one more speaker. Am I pronouncing it correctly? Camellia?
Yes, Camellia, like familia, but with a C and not an F. That's how
Oh,
I
muy
always.
bien. All right, I like it. Camellia John, thank you so much for joining us today. Are you
Thank
good
you
with,
for having me.
of course. Are you good with time? I know that we went a little bit over. Are you okay to stay
I
till
have
about two?
time.
Yeah,
I have time.
excellent. Thank you again
I'm
for joining us.
excited and happy to share. Thank you for having me for this career panel.
Of course.
Um, I'm the last one. That makes me a little bit nervous. As
Now,
much as I got in trouble for talking in school, sometimes I'm still a little bit shy to talk in front of people, even though this is virtual. Um,
no, but
And I
you're
think
good.
this is actually a perfect segue that I came after Nadine because she was the president of WBCR when I was a freshman when I interned at WBCR. So I definitely remember her. She might not remember me, but
Hi,
yeah. And I
Camellia.
hi. You always remember the people that, were there when you started on your journey to, get to your career path to where you want to be. So and I do see some familiar names in here. Linda's in here. Cliff is in here. Alexandra. Okay. So I guess I'll start off with what we've been starting with, which is what inspired me to select my current career. Um, well, I wanted to actually be a doctor. I didn't have not to say I didn't have the interest to be in television and radio, but I wanted to be a doctor when I was a child. I grew up in the hospital, and I literally mean that because my mother was a nurse, and she was a single mother, so she had no one to watch us on the weekends and when school was out. So we lived in the hospital. She stuck us in the patient waiting room and in the nurse's lounge while she was working. And I made friends with sick people, sick children, dying children. Some of them are dead now. She worked in the pediatric intensive care unit. Um, and I made friends with doctors and nurses, and I just lived, ate, breathed the hospital, and I wanted to be a doctor. Um, and let's see. Well, I by the time I got to high school, that was my last year of high school. I usually don't tell this part, but we actually ended up becoming homeless because we lost our house. And I had an assignment in high school that said to research how many years after high school graduation that it would take for you to achieve your dream profession. And when I saw that it would take like 10 years after high school to become a doctor, I was like, I don't think I have time to be in school that long. I need to get a job to make some money to pay for a place to stay because we didn't really go to a shelter, but I ended up renting a bedroom for about $700 a month. And I was Googling professions. And so I said, I still want to work in healthcare. So what healthcare job doesn't require 10 years of school? And so I found medical assisting. And I did that in 1 year. So I did apply to Brooklyn College, but I took a gap year. Brooklyn College allows you that if they admit you into the school, you have a year to actually secure your spot. So I did medical assisting within that gap year, got my license in that, and I started working in a hospital, assisting doctors in surgeries and daily patient care. And I came to Brooklyn College the following year. And the reason why I majored in television and radio is because when I used to watch TV when I was a child, yes, I watched cartoons. All children watch cartoons, but I was also obsessed with the Discovery Health Channel because, like I told you guys, I was obsessed with healthcare. And the Discovery Health Channel ended up, the network was replaced by Oprah Winfrey Network. So the Discovery Health Channel is not on TV anymore. And I was devastated because I was just like, where do I get my healthcare knowledge? And I would get up and watch the fitness stuff and I would work out with the TV. They had Pilates and stuff like that on TV. Um, and so I also had a trip to see the Dr. Oz show when I was in medical assisting school. They took us there. And when I was watching the production, I was like, this is so fake. Oh my goodness. I was just like, wait a second, like TV, no, like it just wasn't authentic. And I said, I want to create a show about patient education. I want to bring back the Discovery Health Channel. I need to do something because also working with patients, I started to realize that people don't know anything about their body. They don't know anything about how to take care of themselves. and the doctor doesn't have enough time to, it's going to the doctor's office for a visit is not like school where you get to be educated about something. They're just diagnosing you, giving you your medication and sending you on your way. And then you're just on the internet trying to figure out how to, go to WebMD to save yourself. And one thing that people might not, what am I trying to say? Like television and radio, there's public knowledge there. People have free access to it. You turn on, everybody has a TV in their house, or most people do. The radio is where we get all our free information. And so people who might not have been able to pay for the schooling like I did to go find out about, medical diseases and how to prevent them, I decided I just wanted to go into healthcare programming and try to bring it back. So I, like I said, majored in television and radio at Brooklyn College. And the first thing I did was go to WBCR, where you intern for 1 semester and they teach you how to run the boards, anything that you want to learn in radio, music, programming. So I did all of that. I interned on multiple shows because I wasn't ready to start my own show yet. Like I said, I was a little bit shy when it comes to talking. So I, kind of built up the courage to finally start my own program at WBCR called Healthy Beauty Radio. And I spent about 6 years at Brooklyn College finishing up my degree. So I ran the show for that long. I graduated Brooklyn College in 2021. And at WBCR, I hosted my show. I co-hosted other shows. I revamped the internship program. I became the program director, vice president, then became the general manager, president of the radio station until it got shut down during the pandemic because of COVID, and we couldn't go back to school, right? So I also interned at SiriusXM during my last year at Brooklyn College, which I used all of my experience at WBCR, like Nadine mentioned, building your resume and utilizing everything that the school has. And I interned at SiriusXM on the Pete Dominic show. I did a lot of, it was a political comedy show, made a lot of connects, met Sway from Shade 45. And then from that, I got a job working at 77 WABC Radio, which I worked for almost 2 years as an associate producer and board operator for the Dominic Carter Show, Curtis Lewa Show, just people who worked for Fox and CNN and Spectrum News One, who also had radio programs on WABC Radio. And then I interned at WABC TV on a show called Here and Now with Sandra Bookman. It was supposed to be a summer internship, but I did so well that the executive producer asked me to stay for the spring internship instead of her actually getting another intern. So then I ended up interning for 1 year, and then they hired me after. So I now work as a production assistant for the same show that I interned on, and I'm also a teleprompter operator and Eyewitness News desk assistant for the Eyewitness News first at 4, Eyewitness News at 5, at 6, and 11 p.m. So that's my
Excellent.
story of what inspired me and how I got to where I am today.
Excellent. A lot of really great experience. Very interesting. Again, importance of internships, being active on campus. Wow. I mean, that's everything that, and we hadn't met. So I wish we would have met and whatnot. I mean, again, when I meet with other students, you're doing exactly what I would tell them to do anyway. Get involved on campus, internships, of course. So
we have emailed, but we've never met each other, but we have emailed. And then when I tried to meet you, I missed you, but that's okay.
What?
Because we're meeting now.
Yes. No, I'm glad. Thank you. I want to.
Oh, my laptop is dying. Let me get my.
It's okay, no problem. To her point, though, before her laptop, she'll get there in time. Getting there in time. Definitely get involved on campus for sure. WBCR, the newspaper on campus. I would help students get that on your resume under a professional development section, a project section, things like that. Like that's what we need to do to kind of add to your resume. The more experiences that you have, the better it is. And to go back to Nadine's point from before, she mentioned Center for Education. That's a fantastic resource. There's also another organization called IRTS, the International Radio and Television Society. So I would definitely suggest that one too. Okay. Do you want to speak a little bit about some of the things that you're currently doing? I mean, you had mentioned it now with ABC7 and the news desk. Do you want to go into a little bit more depth?
Okay, so as a production assistant on WABC's Here and Now with Sandra Bookman, that is a public affairs show. Um, the public affairs shows are hosted by the news anchors. So you have Eyewitness News Up Close, which is hosted by Bill Ritter. If you guys are familiar with ABC7 and Eyewitness News, then you might know some of the names of these anchors. Like Eyewitness News at 5 is anchored by Bill Ritter and Sade Betaranwa. First at 4 is anchored by David Navarro and Liz Cho. The 11 is also anchored by Bill and Sade, and then the noon is anchored by Sandra Bookman. So I work in the evening side. There's morning anchors as well, but I work from the afternoon to the evening. As a news desk assistant, I am helping them pull video. So when you see them purporting a story and they have video footage to go with it, we are pulling video, getting video from people who send it in, or sometimes we have to find it and ask permission to have it to, like if a story just happened and there was an eyewitness at the scene who has video footage of that. I'm also helping gather news information, like if there was a story where some police officers had gotten shot and killed in the line of duty, and they wanted to know how many police officers have gotten shot and killed in the line of duty over the last year. I had to grab. So I'm helping gather news information to put the broadcasts together for when they do go on air to actually anchor and give the public the knowledge that we've obtained. And then I'm a teleprompter operator. So after the anchors and the producers and writers have written the scripts for the news, and they put it all into the our system, I'm sitting at the teleprompter, which is behind a curtain behind the news desk, and I am rolling the prompter at the pace that the anchors are reading. So if I mess up, they mess up. So I do that. And then as a production assistant on Here and Now, which is a public affairs show that is it covers the issues and interests of the black community, the African American community specifically. The other shows, there's one about Tiempo, which covers the Latino community, and Up Close, which covers like politics. So I book guests, I pitch stories, I help write the scripts, I write interview questions, and then we have production day where I escort the guests throughout the studio. Last week we just had Styles P come on because he has a juice bar that he opened up in the Bronx with Jadakiss, and he has a pharmacy that he opened as well. I don't know if you guys know who Styles P is, but he's a rapper from the group The Lox. So we have celebrities, we have artists that come through, we have politicians that come through, the mayor comes through. Whoever it is that we're bringing on to talk, I have to escort them throughout the building, stay on the set. I also manage the social media for the show. So I'm creating reels, creating all the content that is on our social media page, whether it be infographics or things that are coming up. If I'm trying to put up a promo that the show is coming on this week, or who we're having come on the show, interacting with the followers, I'm posting in a story, I'm creating the reels for it and everything. So yeah, that's some of the stuff that I do at work every day.
A lot of really great work. I mean, a lot of moving parts and wearing different hats. So
oh yeah, wearing different hats. I have 3 different people's jobs.
yeah, but you're getting such a wealth of experience. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Avi has the next couple questions actually.
Okay.
Hi, Camelia. Thank you for joining us. What do you
Hi.
enjoy most about your career, and what seems to be the most
Hmm.
challenging about your career?
What do I enjoy the most? I would have to say learning new things. I like finding out about things that I did not know before, because it just makes life easier. It helps you to understand exactly like why things happen, what we're doing, what we're here for. So I like learning new things. I did not know that I would like working in a news setting as much as everyone knows that the news just tells you like all the bad things that are happening around us every single day. I actually like the fact that I'm abreast of everything that's happening around me. And I'm able to turn and tell my family, my friends, like, did you know this is happening? Did you, oh, the train's not running over there. You don't want to, oh, this happened over there. Or, and they're just like, what? Like I've become, I don't know, like their personal news station just because I work there. But that's one thing that I enjoy is just learning things that I never knew before, and then also meeting new people and networking, um, and also making people's dreams come true, because there's a lot of people that will try to get promo or news coverage for whether it be an organization or a business or whatever cause it is that they feel like they need press coverage for, and they'll reach out, and sometimes they might not get an answer. And so if I'm able to answer them and work it out with the producers to make it happen, they end up writing me, you know, letters or sending me something saying thank you so much for giving us the exposure and having us on. And so that definitely makes me happy to know that I can do that for somebody.
Thank you for that. Um, as the news is so, you know, you get breaking news stories, you have other news stories, you know, you explained how, oh, maybe the train's not working, stuff like that. What kind of person or characteristics would be a good fit for, I guess, the new newsroom or ABC7?
Um, Somebody who thinks on their feet and who takes initiative. Don't be afraid to have ideas and to bring it to them, because that's kind of what they want. They're not really going to come after you and be like, hey, we need you to do this. And you could actually find yourself, what I've learned is that you could actually find yourself very lost in the newsroom. Like if you only have one specific job, like for instance, me being a teleprompter operator and news desk assistant, it's not really my job to find news stories. It's not really my job to write any news articles. And so I have a gap between the when the 6 p.m. news finishes. I don't have to prompt or do any desk assisting until the 11 p.m. news. So I have a 3 hour gap where I'm literally sitting in the newsroom and I don't have a specific task to do. And you can find yourself lost in there. But for me, I'm like, okay, let me take initiative to be like, oh, hey, let me go on and I go on the internet and see like what's happening now and try to help pitch an idea for what we can do, or try to learn something else. That's actually what they want from you in there. They're not going to come after you and say like, hey, can you help with this? Or can we ask you to do that? But they are more happy to know that you want to be there, and they'll kind of take you on more to do other things. And I think that you would move up in the company or in the newsroom faster if you take initiative, be personable, open up, relate to others, show that you want to work, come up with your own ideas. Like just because somebody didn't ask you doesn't mean that you should just stay quiet and not say anything. Because you don't know, it might be what they needed to hear, or it might be something that they were looking for that they didn't know that they were looking for, and you were able to help, and that, that gives you, it can push you further.
I mean, again, really great. Sure, it's for anybody that wants to work in the industry in this kind of capacity. And this goes to my question for you, which is well, two-part question, which is, where do you see yourself in the next few years? And what do you wish you knew? What do you know now that you wish you knew then?
In the next few years, I definitely see myself right where I want to be, which is hosting my own program. Even though I'm not working on healthcare content yet, I network with the ABC News medical unit. And then I also pitch healthcare content for the show that I'm working on. Like, for instance, we had a heart doctor come on when the incident happened with Buffalo Bills safety Damar Hamlin, when he got went into cardiac arrest. So we had a doctor come on to talk about cardiac issues and how to prevent them and stuff like that, and put the knowledge on the TV that way. So that was one segment that aired that I pitched. So, and that's not the only, but just one example. So I'm working my way up, and I'm also saving those things and building my portfolio. to show like, hey, I co-produce these segments and this is what I've worked on. And so yeah, I'm networking. So I definitely see myself in the next couple of years having and hosting and producing my own program with the content that I actually want to produce, which is healthcare news. And then what did I wish that I knew earlier? Um, so when I first walked into ABC Studios as an intern 2 years ago, I was assigned to one specific show that I interned on. And the same way when I was at SiriusXM, I was assigned to a channel that I worked on these shows. And so I would just report to, as anybody normally would, I would just report straight to who I was working with, who I was working under, whether that be the supervisor or the producer, or, and I would work with them. And then when my, shift was over, I would leave. And it wasn't until I had a meeting with Sade Bedouin, and she was mentioning like, hey, you should come down to the newsroom, or you should pop into this studio. And I was like, well, I said, I don't want to be forward and just like walk around and be nosy and be like, what are they doing in here? And she said, who's gonna stop you? Who's gonna tell you that you can't? She said, why are you putting limits on yourself? And I didn't think of it as I'm putting limits on myself. I thought of it as, well, I work in this room, so I'm going to stay in this room. So I wish that I knew before that it's okay to just explore and just branch out and introduce yourselves to people, walk up to people, say, hi, my name is such and such. What are you doing? And it's okay to just be like, can I shadow you? Can I see what you're doing? Even though you might not work on that particular floor or in that particular department, you have to be eager to learn. If you're hungry to do something, don't be afraid. Most people are not going to tell you, no, you shouldn't be in here, or that you can't do this. Why do you want to watch me? They're not going to do anything like that. So I didn't think that people would do. It's just that I didn't think that I can do something like that. So that is something that I wish that I knew earlier, but I'm implementing now. So I, go to the production studio where they do Live with Kelly and Mark. Ryan Seacrest is gone. Mark Consuelos is her husband. They do the show together now. Yeah, I walk into the studio. I sit down in the audience. I watch them produce the entire show. I talk to the stage directors. I talk to the producers. They have segment producers. I network with them. And I don't work on that show, but I'm learning off of them because I know that I want to, work on a talk show one day. And that's something that I probably didn't think to myself that I should do, but I do now. Like next week and even last week, I'd be like, okay, I'm going to go sit in on Tamron Hall's show and just watch the show and see what they're doing in there and talk to them when they're done. And so, yeah.
Do you consider yourself introvert, extrovert?
I would say a little bit of both. So
An extroverted introvert?
exactly.
Yes.
Because sometimes I think I'm an overthinker. And so I think too much about like what I'm going to sound like, or what I look like and so I end up being quiet, but really I'm not, if that makes sense.
No, you're putting yourself out there. That's the thing.
Right.
You are going and meeting with people. Because I had a follow-up question too, which is, and you touched upon it already, but do you have any particular people that are like mentors to you? Because you are networking with the producers and getting to know people. I mean, do you have any mentors, and how important is that? Obviously, you've been here the whole session and everybody's been talking about mentors. Would you want to speak to that?
So I think mentorship is extremely important. I did not have any mentors and I did not seek any mentors because I think I probably just wasn't exposed to it or didn't think too much of like, hey, I should find someone who is doing what I want to do, and ask them for some type of guidance, or I didn't think to do that. But I do realize that it can be helpful because I've fallen into mentorship along the way. Like the executive producer on one of the shows that I work on, she kind of takes me under her wing, like as if I'm her daughter, and she gives me advice, not with me asking for it. And she'll be like, send send me your resume. Let me see what you put on it. Let me see what you did. Oh, if you do this, make sure that you like, she's giving me advice. And so she basically is my mentor, even though I did not seek her out. And I realized that having a mentor would have definitely helped me reach certain places a lot sooner than later than trying to figure out everything myself. Because honestly, I feel like Google was Google was my mentor. But now I'm extremely interested in mentorship, especially becoming a mentor, which is why I decided to join this career panel and connect with the Magna Career Center and become a BC alumni mentor, because I want to give back um, to students who went to Brooklyn College or going to Brooklyn College. Specifically, I went back to WBCR because when I was a student there, we always had alumni who had shows there. So even though they were not currently students, they would still come to the radio station and produce shows. And actual current students were interns on those shows. So we still had people who, even though you graduated and you're working in the industry, you're coming back and showing current students the ropes at the radio station. And I'm kind of sad to know that they're not doing that anymore. And I kind of want to help implement that back into the radio station. I know that right now, WBCR, they're only open for like 2 hours a day during the common hours when the kids who are current e-board members are at the station, and then they lock it back when they leave. When, before it was open all day long for students who had, like, I had evening classes when I was at Brooklyn College because I was working in the daytime. So being able to still go to the radio station in the evening time, that helped me a lot. And then I do know certain students who currently go to Brooklyn College who are trying to get into the radio station, or trying to join the TV and radio clubs. And I don't know, they've said that it's been kind of difficult for them to like get a hold of them or to be able to do anything in there. So I want to become a mentor in some way, I guess, to just bring that back, where we have people like myself, Nadine, other people who I know that I went to school with who are working in the industry now, who would love to be mentors to students that go to the school that we came from. So
No, it's a very good point. And I run the alumni mentoring program. So if you're interested in meeting with students on a separate Zoom and kind of share some advice, that'd be great. I
okay.
also help oversee company visits too. We did a fantastic ABC7 visit in 2017, thanks to
Yes, and I want to plan another one. I already spoke with one of the executive producers, and they were just like, just tell a professor, hook us up with somebody, get the students together, bring them over. And I'm like, yes, let's do it.
oh,
Let's do
that's
it.
great. All right, well then you and me are going to be talking right after this. Then I think.
Yes.
No, it's going to be very important. Yeah. Yeah, I think alumni can come as well, Linda. I mean, and to your question, and so we have a couple more questions. We have a few more minutes. So, do you have a few more minutes? Kelly?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. So, so one question is, if now somebody is an alum of the college, what might be the best way of them being able to kind of work at ABC without doing an internship? Is that something that's possible? Would that be like building your own content?
So it all depends on what you want to do, because ABC is huge, right? There's a lot of things that you can do. So it's like, do you want to work in news? Do you want to work in programming? Do you want to be on the technical side of things, like stage manager, control room, things like that? So when you go to the website, which is I think it's Disney Careers, because they're owned by the Walt Disney Company. You can find the listings there and apply that way. They also post on LinkedIn, but it's also really good to have connections on the inside, because they like to hire within. They have a college career, like the internship program is basically where they actually mold you to end up working for them. So yes, the internship program is a great way to get your foot in the door. But if you already graduated and you're past that, I know that they say, I think up to 6 months or a year after graduating is when they kind of cap off interning. I would say to continue building your resume outside and then apply, but also networking. So station visits, you can walk in, ask to speak to the news director, hand them your resume personally. You know, one of the producers that currently works there now, he's not from New York at all. He came from Ohio, and he said he just did a bunch of station visits. He would come in all the time and get to know everybody. And he had a portfolio. He would send them to his website and show them what he did. And he kept bringing his resume and talking to them. And he's been a producer for the News at 11 on Saturdays for about 6 months now.
That's excellent. Yeah, that's great advice. I definitely think that's something that, again, you know, that's the strategy. Sometimes you just have to kind of put yourself out there and go
And be
directly,
persistent.
right, and be persistent. Yeah. I mean, I am going to mention one thing, you know, and I hope it's not a rivalry, maybe, but like there's the NBC Page program. I think there are other Page programs. So that's for recent grads, the NBC Page program. So I mean, that could be a possibility as well. And I've had a couple of students go through that also.
And and that's another thing too, like they like to see that you've worked at other companies. So they're not just going to be like, oh, well, you worked at NBC or you worked at CBS or whatever. Like there's this one, we had a media manager who she just left, but she worked at CBS for 14 years and then she got laid off during the pandemic. So she applied to ABC. And so she's stayed with us for a year and a half. And now she's going back to CBS because they gave her job back.
Yeah. Again, you know, interesting. Yeah. Really great advice. We have time for two more questions. Avi has two more questions. Avi, get to ask the next question.
Okay. One question that I have is that I hear from people in some of the events that I've been to, the professional events that I've been to, that they say that you should say yes to everything early on. Is that something that you, in terms of like events or in terms of different opportunities to network, that is some of their advice? Would you be able to say that maybe that's what you did early on, or would you say that that advice doesn't apply to you?
When you say yes early on, are you saying like if they invite you to an event, just say yes even though you're not sure?
Yeah,
Is that what you mean?
yeah,
I would say that you should definitely take all invitations if you're interested in them. Don't turn them down right away. And then later on, if you can't make it, probably ask them like when's the next time that they're gonna do another one instead of just like not showing up at all or something like that. Let them know like I might not be able to make it to this one, but when would you be having another one? Or can you put me on like a newsletter or emailing list whenever you're having other events? That might be the same or similar to, so that you stay connected with them at least, even though you might not be interested in the exact moment. I wouldn't really turn it down right away, because even though you might not be interested in that particular event, there might be other things that that person or organization is involved with that might be able to help you out in the long run.
okay. And the last question I have is more of a personal question, but there might be other people that had this question as well. What, for somebody that maybe wants to be on the on-air TV personality or broadcast on air, what would be some advice, or what do you think that they should have on their resume if they have prior maybe social media experience, when it's, you know, you're on air, you're speaking on social media, or podcasting on air experience as well?
So I would say to build your portfolio, and I'm talking about your own separate portfolio aside from the work that you're doing, like for your actual job that you work at. Like for me, the entire time that I was doing shows at WBCR, I was saving every single recording. And so I edited them in the form of podcasts and I put them up on a podcast platform. So then fast forward to when I ended up going to a radio convention, and I met, because you know, you're networking, I met Skip Dillard. He was the operations manager and vice president of MS Communications, which is they own Hot 97 and WBLS WLIB. So he ends up telling me, send me your podcast. And then he's like, oh, I love this, send me more work. And one of the advice that he gave me was to continue doing it. So continue recording your work. If you want to make YouTube videos and practice being on camera, if you want to create some type of podcast or a talk show, whether you're just doing audio work as in recording your voice, or video work, recording yourself, build your portfolio, use your YouTube channel as your portfolio, use your podcast, whether you could put it up on Podbean or Spotify or wherever people put iTunes wherever people put podcasts on, and share it out. Put it on your LinkedIn, so when people search you up, they'd be like, oh, okay, she does this, she does that. Oh, there's your website. Oh, wow, you have a nice thing going on. They can look at your YouTube channel, they look at your podcast, so they can see that you're consistently putting out work. You want to always stay consistent, because you can kind of lose your voice along the way. You don't want to lose your confidence in yourself and be like, oh, I haven't done this in a long time, so can I still do this? You want to keep up with what you're doing. I would say, to continue to be able to have the confidence to be on air, and build yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, that's excellent advice. I mean, I know some students that are doing that, which is great. And I think everyone here, if you aspire to be an on-air talent, or someone that wants to produce content and be in front of the camera as well as behind the camera, you have to be doing it. And, like I said,
Yeah, keep doing it. Don't stop.
yeah, yeah, and you're always going to grow. I think some students when I speak with them, sometimes they're like, I don't know if this is like my best work, or I always tell people, yes, but this is the start, the foundation by which you will build and you will kind of adapt and grow creatively. So
Mhm.
we could always look at some of our earlier stuff and be like, like that was that, but I'm so much better where I am now. Well, that's fine. That's what creating the foundation is and building from there. Camelia, how can they stay in touch with you? Would LinkedIn be the best way, or?
LinkedIn, yeah, and yes, I still use my BC email, and also I can give out my work email as well. I can
Okay,
drop it in the chat.
please do. I think that'd be really great. And again, thank you so much for your time, the advice.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be able to share.
Oh, you sent it as a direct message. I have to send everyone in.
Oh, it's supposed to be everyone. I see that. I'm gonna change it.
Yeah. All right, but yeah, no, I think a lot of really great advice. Like I said, I hope we could work together on doing some kind of visit, and if we could do a visit, that'd be great.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hopefully soon, like for the spring semester.
Yeah, I think that'd
We
be
have
great.
time.
Yeah. We try to do visits in April, but I'll be in touch with you about that. Anybody that's interested, again, you guys heard it first. I'm glad that you're here and gaining all the advice that you did. I want to thank all of our alumni that joined us today. Absolutely fantastic. And I really do hope that you guys feel a little bit more confident, more advice, more insight to get career success. So, Camelia, thank you so much. Avi, Mary, thank you also. And I hope to see you guys soon. Again, if you haven't used the Magner Center, you haven't spoken with me, and you want to work in the media and entertainment industry, come and make an appointment to meet with me. All right. So take care, everybody. Have a great afternoon, and I hope to see you guys soon.